Hi, now before we start installing the gate, the important thing to do is make sure the gate's level in both directions. So take your level out of the kit supplied, place it on the top of the gate and check that it's level. As long as it's in between the two lines is fine, but also check at 90 degrees as well. So we open the gate and check that it's level in that direction as well. Once you've confirmed that, you may have to adjust the hinge points to get that level right and the post is vertical, then we can start putting the latch on. So here we have the latch assembly. We have the latch itself, which is electrically driven through a solenoid, and the latch plate that we'll put on the post itself. So to mount the latch, take the latch and its two clamps. Just move that out of the way. In this configuration, we're going to have the gate coming towards us. It could be going that way equally, but in our situation, we're going to have it coming towards us, opening towards us. So the latch is going to be secured like this. We can see the latch pin here that will go against the latch plate on the post. So all we do is grab these two clamps and we're going to clamp the barrel of the latch to the barrel of the gate. You can see I've mounted the first clamp to the latch and to the gate. Now I'll mount the second one, and it's simple as when it's applied, it's wound in a little bit. So wound out the nut and the bolt, place that on that, it simply slides up, and just tighten the nut on the bolt, and now we've got it roughly in position. That's all we want to do at this point in time, because now we're going to mount the actual plate itself to the post. So in our configuration, I would like this to be up about there, the latch plate. So I'm going to make sure that when the gate closes, it's going to be on the latch. So that's my point there. I'll scribe a line across the top here so I can take that off now, put that plate on and drill two holes to mount the latch plate. You can see I've mounted the lower bolt securing the latch plate. Also, it's important to put the lower one in because the hole is elongated here for fine adjustment before you put the top bolt in, securing the plate together. Make sure there's a washer behind the bolt so it gives a little bit of tolerance against the post. Screw that in, grab your ratchet set and just secure the plate, but make sure it is vertical. Obviously we can move it slightly with the elongation of the bottom hole. Just before we tighten it up, make sure that's level. Again, you can grab your level that's been supplied. Yes, that's pretty good, and we can nip it up. Nip the top. And now that's done. You can see I'm just adjusting the height of the latch to the latch plate on the post now. So make sure the latch sits nicely against the latch plate, and then just move your clamps up to that position and secure the nut and the top clamp, and then the one on the bottom clamp as well. With the spanner, just nip that up. Now, if you're concerned about cattle lifting the gate or people lifting the gate out of the latch itself, then what we supply is a long nut that will stop the gate from rising. We'll demonstrate that. So previously I had a nut on this side of the bolt securing the clamp, So what you do, take the bolt out, have the nut on this side of the clamp, use the long nut that we supply and fix the clamp up against the latch itself. We can show here, and I'll just demonstrate how that'll now work. So in the latch position, trying to lift that gate, the nut is hard up against the latch, and therefore the pin can't come out of the latch plate itself. So the last bit we're going to put onto the gate is the lower pivot. We select a place along the bottom of the gate rail. In this case I haven't got any mesh, so I don't have to cut a section of mesh away. I simply put the bracket on, pick either of the holes to put the U-bolt on. I'll just put those on loose for now, because what we want to make sure is this is level. It's not tilted this way or this way. We want to make sure it's fairly level. So we can get our level again and just check that before we mount the drive motor bracket. So we're now going to mount the drive motor mount bracket to the right hand post of the gate. Obviously here it can be in any position. So to make sure we've got the correct position, we need to ensure when we put the drive motor from the bracket to the lower pivot bracket that is level. To do that, we need to grab the drive motor and simply, with our level that we've already got on it, scribe a mark when it's level, make a mark on our post. That now sets where we'll mount the bracket, simply by drilling a couple of holes and putting the screws in. Okay. We've just secured the post bracket, but just take notice of the large washers here. There's a large washer, a small washer, and another large washer that goes on before the nut. The reason for the small washer in between the two large washers is so that when we put the drive motor cowl on, that will slide down and leave a perfect gap between the two washers. So you must ensure that small washer is on like that, so there is now a gap there for the drive cowl to slide down after we finish the installation. I'm now mounting the drive motor to the post bracket that we've just installed. There's two bolts securing it, quite easily to fit on. And then we can nip that lock nut up to make sure it's in position. Same with the other side. Lock nut up. Okay, the drive motor's installed. Now in just the last couple of turns to lock this bolt up, now I'm just going to make sure that lock nut's nice and tight up against the back of the drive motor. Okay, now it's in position. Okay, we've secured our drive motor to the post, but it's a distance away from the pivot bracket. We need to move this bracket closer. To do that, I've connected the drive motor to our battery with our remote control. We simply move the bracket to roughly where the gate is in position. We can move the gate a little bit as well, move the bracket, so we line those two holes up together. Washer, bolt, make sure there's a washer in between the bracket and the drive bracket. Another washer. and a nut underneath, which is a lock nut. And we secure that to that, and that's it. The drive motor is now connected to the gate. Okay, now we're going to assemble the solar pole and attach the solar panel to the top of the pole, the security light and the security camera. You can see here I've got the security camera. I've already slid that onto the top of the pole. I've slid the security light up onto the pole, and I'll now attach the light to one of the cables that will go down into the battery box. Note the grommet that will go in this hole. The cable threaded down the first section of pole. At the same time, the other cable that connects to the solar panel itself, to the solar panel, and we'll connect that to the panel. It's a weatherproof casing around the switch, and we'll now attach this solar panel to the pole, making sure that it's going to face north. In this configuration, I've got the security light and security camera facing towards the gate as it opens, and I know my north is that direction, so I'm going to insert the solar panel that way so the panel's facing north. But first we need to draw the wires down through the 4 sections of the solar pole, and to do that, all I've done is got a bit of yellow tongue or red tongue or green tongue, whatever you've got. Attach the 2 ends of the one is the solar panel cable and one is the security light to the end of the red tongue. I've already slid that through the first section, as you can see, and now I'm just going to draw that through each section of the pole. One section, another section, just keep going to the last section. Make sure it's poking out, and then we can just connect each section of pole together. That's in place. Now we've got the solar panel. Obviously we need to draw the cable further down so the top section of the panel can insert into the pole. So we'll just do that now. Back down to the red tongue, pull that through. Okay, the pole's ready, but before you install it, make sure of a couple of things before it's installed. Firstly, so we secure the security camera wiring, just put a cable tie around the back of it. We'll snip that off, that's for it's nice and tight. Make sure the grommet is in the hole, we'll put that in the hole. And the last thing is make sure the dummy security camera force cable goes in a small hole there, so it looks like it's all wide. The light is on the security camera, showing our intruders that they're going to be spied on. We have a light on the solar panel saying it's being charged, and the wire is active that will go down to the battery when we install the pole. So now we're ready to install the pole. Okay, we mount the battery plate onto the pole just by simply inserting that into its latch. It's secure, ready for the battery case. Now we can insert the cables through that come from the solar pole, and I've just got an assistant holding the pole at the moment so I can demonstrate that. So We insert the from the solar panel, wire from the solar panel, and we insert that from the security camera. Now we're ready to place a pole into the mount. The panel and the pole in one hand, and I'm just going to draw those cables through. Making sure they don't crimp. So I can show you the rivet. No, that's it, that'll do. So insert that, and I can now show you the rivet on the side here. Will stop it going any further.
2, 3.
So the pole's now in position, and I'm just going to secure this to the rail I've got here. You can do it any other way. You can secure it to the post, a rail. There's a clamp in the kit that you can use, but I'm just going to put a clamp at the back here to the rail on my installation. Equally, if you have a tree here, you obviously can move this pole to the corner of the fence or the next post down, and just have a longer wire coming back to the battery. Also, if we don't want it that high for whatever reason, then you could take the top section out and move that down to here and just have the solar panel at hand height. But because we've got a security camera and a security light, we don't want people playing with that, so I've got that an extra extension above hand height. So it's up to your specific configuration, which way you'd like it, at the front gate of the post, or you can have it at the corner of the property. You can have it at this height or that height. It's up to you. So just grab the battery box. There's 4 holes here. Sit that on top of the plate. Mount your 4 screws. And a washer underneath to secure it. I just put one on for now. I'll put the battery in position. I'm using a standard 12 volt car battery, or one out of your tractor. You can use a smaller battery, but the purpose of, or the benefit from using the 12 volt car battery or off your tractor is, if you always need a spare battery around the property, this battery will always be on charge. So if you have a flat battery in your tractor or in your car, you can just come straight here and you know this will be fully charged from the solar panel. So just an added bonus, but equally you can get a smaller battery as long as it's 12 volt. So now we'll connect the wires from the solar panel, and in our case there's the security camera, and at the same time we'll connect these 2 larger diameter wires which come straight from the drive motor to the battery. So we have our solar power coming down, charging the battery, then from the battery the 2 wires that go to our drive motor. So I'll do that now, and then I'll come back and we'll show you the next step.
2, 3.
Just ensure when you're securing the wires to the battery, make sure all the black wires are together and they go to the negative terminal, and equally all the red wires go to the positive terminal. You can see at the back of the motor, drive motor here, I've got the cables going down the back of the motor, down the ground, and then it'll come up the side of the battery box. And the reason for doing that is when we put the battery cover on, those wires will be coming up this insert here, so it's fully weather protected. They'll be coming up in here onto the 2 terminals. So we simply make sure they're coming up like that. Again, black to negative. Put the supplied bolts through those terminals. And just screw that on. I'll do the same for the positive terminal, and then we're ready for the next step.
3.
Okay, I've got the positive terminal connected, the negative terminal connected. Just to make it neat and tidy, I'm going to put a cable tie around those so they will track down when I put the cover on, nice and neat. Just cut that off. Now you can see here I've got length of cable. That's applied because we can move this battery box to another position. The gate can be a bit longer, so you've got plenty of cable there. That it's up to you whether you coil it up and attach it to the fence, or whether you'd like to cut it to length and just have it that length from the motor to the battery. But there's plenty of supplied. There's extra crimps supplied if you do decide to cut the cable rather than coiling it up and attaching it to the fence. Put the battery cover on, neat and tidy now. Okay, so now we're at the drive motor. I'll just show you the negative wire here is coming from the battery where we've installed it to the battery terminal. We put that onto the terminal of the drive motor, and then with our latch cable, we'll make sure we've got the black wire going to the black itself again. Just put another on that side. And the same for the other side. We can see the latch cable coming up at the back of the drive motor. On the other side here is the positive wire coming from the battery, supplying power to the drive motor. We attach the latch to that point as well, placing our nut on there, and just nip that up with a spanner so it's nice and tight. Now all the wiring is complete. However, you would do away with that. You would cut that to length like I said previously. Now you would have noticed that I had this bracket here, which I forgot to mention when we were installing the drive motor to the gate securing plate. There's 2 holes on this bottom plate. That's for 2 reasons. One, we could mount this plate to here or to this point here, depending on the orientation of our gate to the post. If this gate was longer, extending out from the post, then obviously this is not going to be long enough to secure the plate. So we've provided this extension arm. We'll take that bolt out, we'd insert that bolt there, then this pin goes in onto this point on the plate. So now we could have that plate right down here if there was something in the way. Some gates, rather than having a center pole, some gates have a triangle pole coming down here securing to the bottom, which is difficult to put the bracket here. So in that case we'd have to mount the bracket back here. This would then be too short, so we'd simply move this bracket to that position, have that extension bar there, and secure our bracket to the drive motor onto that point. So very modular system for all gate, for all situations. It's up to you how you mount your gate to the drive motor. Okay, now previously we connected the latch to the gate with our 2 clamps. Now we want to wire it back to the drive motor. There's a connector, a weatherproof connector. We simply plug those 2 together like we've done with our other connectors. That's weatherproof. Now for this demonstration, I've just run the wire down the gate along the bottom and cable tied it back to the drive motor, where we're going to connect it a little bit later, and I'll show you that. But you can see here there's a lot of cable here. I've only got a 12-foot gate, you might have a 14-foot gate. There's plenty of wire to run whatever gate you have, and you would either coil it up like that I don't recommend, but I just cut that to size so we've got just a short section of cable going to the drive motor. Rather than have it running along the bottom of the gate for this demonstration, what we'd usually do in an installation would be to drill a hole, an elongated hole in the bottom rail here. This cable would come down you'd poke the cable through here, and like we did with the red tongue and the solar pole, we would draw that through to the pole, another hole in here, and it would then come out to the drive motor. So a hole on this side, hole on the other side, draw wire through to bring the cable through. That saves the cable being outside exposed to the sunlight and also exposed to birds and animal possibly eating the cable, which does happen on other installations. So our recommendation is to take the extra time, drill the 2 holes at the end and run the cable through the gate itself. Okay, as per our recommendation, I've actually drilled the holes in the gate rail at the bottom here, and you can see I've now got the cable coming out of the gate itself. I've cut the excess cable to length and shortened that. It's now attached to the drive motor, so we don't have excess cable. And I'll just show you the other end where the hole has been drilled. We can see the cable coming down from the latch and into the gate rail, protecting the cable. Now, in addition, as an alternative, we also can supply steel conduit, which the cable could run down through along to the drive motor. Again, if you have shorter time, or that's a preferable method for your installation. So there's 3 ways of doing it. Putting the cable, just lying it on the gate itself, cable tied, drilling it through into the gate rail itself, or providing some steel conduit, so again the cattle or birds can't get to the cable. Okay, before we put the weather cowl over the drive motor, I'll just show you a couple of things here. You might have noticed this in previous shots. It's actually an adjustment tool, and over a year or so, spring tension might need to be adjusted, and this is the special tool to do that. So it's always with the unit, so it doesn't get lost in your toolbox or at the back of your farm shed somewhere. Always keep it here. And above the spring pack, there's a nut. We'll just get a close-up of that. Don't worry about the little bit of rust on, surface rust on here. That's now all zinc plated. So, but for this demonstration model, we'll just show you how to do it. That goes onto the nut, and you just turn that nut either way to decrease or increase the spring tension onto the friction pad. Obviously, that to give you more friction for your gate over time as that plate wears a little. So having done that, having made that adjustment, make sure you put that back on, otherwise you will lose it. And that's contained within the weather cowl. The other, I'll point out to you this blue wire here. We've done all the other wiring, the positives are to the positive terminal, negatives to the negative terminal. And this blue wire is actually the antenna for the remote control. It goes into this control box on top of the drive motor, where the signal is received from pressing the remote control. So just make sure that wire comes out through the weather cowl and sits down beside the weather cowl when we put it on. So it's freely available for the remote control to pick up that signal. So now we're just going to mount the weather cowl over the drive motor. It's a simple stainless steel cover, but just remember when we slide it over the top to pick up those 2 large washers at the rear, and make sure that simply slides in between those 2 washers and just sits there like that. Okay, so everything's connected. The battery's wired to the drive motor. We have the solar panel wires coming down to the battery. We're all connected back to the latch. So now we need to test the opening and closing of the gate and set the open and closed positions. Now to do that, we'll just mark your attention to 2 micro switches, one here and one on the other side. They are for the open and closed positions. We have two magnets, just simple bar magnets that come with the kit, and we're going to place those on the bar here, so when this bar opens the gate, it will come in contact with the micro switch and stop the drive motor. Equally, in the closed position, we have a magnet on the other side, and as that is drawn through to close the gate, it will get close to the micro switch and stop the gate. So it's a simple matter of moving that magnet to set our position of open and close. I'll just demonstrate that for you now. We grab our remote control, remember power button on, light comes on, hit the open button. I've got the magnet set here. Obviously that's not good enough because it stopped opening. I need to adjust that magnet so I get more opening. Simply move that along. It's probably about there. We'll try it again. That may be good enough as an opening position. If not, we can move it a bit further. It's up to you. Similarly for the closed position. That latched okay, but we can see that that really latched without the drive motor stopping, because our magnet's back here. So really that magnet should be where the micro switch is. So we'll just test that again. We'll open the gate. The magnet stops the gate from moving any further. We check the closed position. It's latched in position. Drive motor is stopped by the magnet coming into close contact with the micro switch. Just to reinforce the suitability of this gate for all installations and applications is the manual opening of the gate. We don't have to have the remote control. Manual opening is simply pushing the plunger up. That unlatches from the latch plate, and we can very simply open the gate and go through without a remote control. So just showing that again, we can just close that. If we want to open it, press the plunger, which is disguised really for people that don't know it's there. But if we are concerned that we're going away on holidays for a couple of weeks, or we want to lock the gate a bit more secure than what it is, then the plunger has a hole through it in which we can just put our padlock through, lock that, which stops the plunger going up, unlatching the gate. So now we have security both at the latching point, our security camera, our security light, as well as a easy manual functioning gate, or using our remote control.